Hello everyone and welcome back to Painting with Martin. Today we're back with another tank painting video and we're looking at the M3 Stuart, also known as Honey in the British service. And depicted here is actually the British not going to be painted today, and it's made by Warlord Games. It's part of the Bolt Action series. And I bought this one because I wanted to show you not how to paint the British and not how to paint the Americans, because those have already been covered in videos previously on this channel. But because I actually wanted to show you how to paint Russian tanks. And you're probably wondering, what is a British or American tank doing in Russian hands? Well, the thing is, in World War II, the Americans sent large amounts of military equipment to the Russians known as the Lend-Lease. And this is a so-called Lend-Lease tank. So as you can see here, you can use it for both early, mid and late warfare. But in the terms of the Russian service, it's going to be early and mid. So that depicts the rules for what, how you can apply this tank to the battlefield. And you can also see the plastic model is supplied by the Aethermatic company, which is renowned for their plastic scale modeling. And I'm going to put this one aside. I'm going to show you the back side. You can see there are four different tanks you can put together. And excuse me, you can see that there is two Americans, one Russian, and one British here. The reason there are two Americans is one of them is going to be in Tunisia for the desert campaign, and the other one is going to be for the Pacific campaign with a flamethrower mounted instead of the hull machine gun. But let's get through to the tank instead of talking about what the tank did and so on and so forth. Now, I have already pre-painted this tank to make sure that it's right, nice and easy to paint for this video, so you don't have to wait for the tank to dry. What I've done here is that I've primed the miniature using Surface Primer Panzer Grey from Vallejo. So that one, and I leave it 24 hours to dry, and before I apply the base paint. The base paint is done by applying something called Luftwaffe Camo Green, which is a little bit from Vallejo. If you don't have this one, it's also okay to use one called Army Green from Army Painter. That's also perfectly fine. And there is a conversion chart you can find online if you don't have that color as well. I'm sure there's a Citadel color for that too. Once this one was dry, I also applied a 50-50 mix of a shade called Athonian Camoshade from Citadel. And the reason it's 50-50, it's like 50% water, 50% shade, is that I want it a little bit diluted, so I didn't want it that dark. But to show you, I've also put I took away the tank's turret to make sure it's a little bit easier, and I can cover the turret ring inside here as well. I recommend that you do so as well and paint them separately. I also took away the turret mounted machine gun. I can see if I can show you here like this, because it was very fiddly and would get in the way when you primed it. And then I would paint it separately, and then you can glue it on as well. I would also recommend you not to mount this plastic radio antenna here, because this one actually snapped off in the middle here, and it's supposed to be a little bit longer. So apologies for that. That's why it looks like that. Now, there are instruction assemblies for the Russian tanks. There are certain key differences. For example, the Russians have two hull-mounted machine guns in either side here, which the British don't, and I think the Americans don't as well. So please follow the instructions as by the that you can find in the box for which tank you're going to assemble. Very, very important. But I did actually have some spare time, and I took this extra hull, extra turret, and I assembled it, and I painted it with a primer. So this is what it looks like when it's primed, and it's of course it's incomplete because you use this turret for the American tanks. So I'm going to show you how to apply the Luftwaffe Camo Green. So let me get my palette, which of course I didn't prepare before. My apologies for that. So there we go. A normal small trusty palette. I'm not using the wet palette for this one because I don't have another tank to paint after this one immediately, at least. So I'm going to apply this one straight, neat, and over here a little bit, and then I take a fairly large brush, and this time it's a size 6 brush, and then I simply take some water, because I want to dilute the paint, make sure that it's easy to handle, and I mix it around as such, and then I take it up and I start applying the tank's paint. As you can see, it's very, very easy. You want to cover the entire surface of this model with the tank. Now, this one I found that you need to leave it to dry before you apply a second layer of this paint to make sure you've got even coverage of the whole tank. And I strongly recommend you do so. I just want to show you how it's done on a piece of plastic so you can see what to do in a step-by-step guide that I'm so far doing my videos for you guys. As you can see, it becomes fairly green. It's a nice color. I really like it. And it does assemble Russian tanks, so to say. So there you have it. Leaving this to dry before you apply the second layer. I'm going to leave this one to a side. Now, after this one is done, you're of course going to apply the shade, which is 50/50 Athonian Camoshade. Looks like this from Citadel. And there are conversion charts that you can find online if you don't have that particular shade as well. Now, back to my original one, why we actually have this one. The first thing we're going to do is we are going to dry brush and make sure that we get off some of the grimy tones of the shade here. And don't worry about painting the insides here, just ignore it because it's going to get a bit covered by the turret anyways. So first of all, we go to our trusty dry brush, and that means that I have a specific dry brush for this model, or actually for me here. This one is a war paint dry brush base, and I bought this one in a Citadel store, or Games Workshop store. But you can use any simply much beaten down brush, something like this as well, as you see fit. So what we're going to do here, we are going to take something called Loren Forest from Citadel. Going to give the bottle a good shake. Going to take out some paint, and we are going to take most of it. I'm going to do it off camera here, and soak off most of the paint off a piece of paper before we apply it. And we'll see here if this one, yes. And you do it in dabbling motions such as this, giving it a little bit of a lighter shade. You want to hit the edges most of all. And the surface areas you go around circling like this to provide even coverage. And when you feel you're running out of paint, and you just go back and do the same thing here. And this gives it a slightly grimy, less grimy appearance as well. Don't forget the road wheels inside here as well. And turning it around. Now we might need to apply a little bit more. And take it, dab it off a piece of paper like this. It's very easy to do dry brushing. And it's perfectly fine if you get a little bit more on your brush on certain edges and so on as well, as long as you feel fairly happy with the result. Don't forget the back and the hatch door. Something like this. It doesn't have to be perfect. After all, it's a Russian tank. They're known to be fairly rugged. And now, of course, you clean your brush in between, making sure that it's ready for the next step. Now, of course, before I forget, of course I forgot this, you should also do the same for the turret. The turret can be a little bit fiddly because you have the gun and you have the hatch, which can be a little bit tricky to get to, so be careful when you apply it over here. something like this would be fairly okay. Now leaving this one aside, don't forget anything else. Now going on to the next stage, we are going to paint the machine guns over here, as well as the machine gun over here on the turret, as well as any metal part on the tank as well. We're going to do this with a color called German Grey to give it a good base tone. German Grey is from Vallejo. We apply it neat, and for this you need a slightly smaller brush. I'm using a size 3 here from Winsor & Newton Cotman series, a synthetic brush. I'm going to take off my glasses because I've come to an age where glasses are also needed to see on long distance, but when it comes to shorter distances it's not that great. So apply it on the hull machine gun over here, as well as the side machine guns here as well. I'm going to show you here if you can see it here, making sure that you can see it clearly. Don't forget on the side and the sides. And also you can apply the tools, as you can see over here. There are tools here, not the handles, but the axe blades here will be fine, as well as there's a saw over here as well. There's one kind of like a spit, or I don't know what you call it. It's kind of like iron tool here to bend or pry things loose. I'd never served on the tank when I did my military service. I was in the Air Force and I didn't fly planes for that reason either. So I was in an Air Force light infantry unit, so up in the Swedish Lapland service. So don't forget the other turret mounted machine gun and the other side as well. Something like this would be perfectly fine. Leaving this one to dry, cleaning our brush of course in between. Moving on, while this one dries, and it's a good opportunity to move on for the rest, is to apply the same colour, which is German Grey, to the trucks. Some people prefer to paint the tracks with a brown colour as well to simulate earth and mud effects, and you can do so, but I prefer to do that later because you can add mud and grime effect to much better effect with an effects paint, in my opinion. So you apply it over here, such as like this. Over the entire course of the track links. Hope you can see it. Taking great care not to touch anything else as well on the tank that we previously painted. It's a beautiful tank to paint. Quite nasty work to assemble it because I'm terrible at assembling plastic model pieces. But if you follow the instructions, which I have a really hard time following, then you will have no problems doing it. It's not hard, it's just that I'm really terrible at it. So therefore you will see gaps and such things like that in the track links on my tank, but you will not have on yours because you're much better at this than I am. And if you're in Israel, where I'm based, you can go and find bolt action going to the Geek Shelter stores in either Tel Aviv or in Haifa. But otherwise, your local wargame shop or well-sorted board game store that has bolt action, you can find these as well. And I'll include a link in the description box to Geek Shelter if you are Israel based, and you can go and have a look there. Don't forget, when we're painting these ones, you can take a look. Don't forget there is going to be these ones, the track links over here as well. So make sure that you cover these ones too. That is, they're not as well as the upper side here too. Can be a bit fiddly to get to, but with a bit of practice you can do it. And it doesn't have to be perfect, just make sure that it doesn't have total green cover. So moving on, and then you can hold on to the other side. Sometimes it's easier just to apply it in one good stroke here. Now, speaking about the tank had a good track record, and except in Russian service, because the Russians felt that the road wheels were too narrow and therefore it would produce too much ground pressure, and therefore I'm going to leave this one to the side, and therefore it bogged down in the Russian mud way too easily. They also had a tendency to catch fire, if I'm not mistaken. It also wasn't that good. So when in the beginning of the war, they were really hard pressed for tanks. They took anything they could get their hands off. So this was really a stopgap measure before they actually produced some really good tanks, such as T-34, and of course later on the IS-1 and IS-2s. So when we've done this one is going to dry fairly easy for this one. We can also go on and paint the handles of the wood for the axe and the handlebar for the saw here as well, which can also be nice. And for that color, we're using something called Flat Earth from Vallejo. I find the color fairly funny in terms of the name, but I guess that's just me. Again, we're going back to our handy size 3 brush, applying it neat. And it's only these details that really makes the model pop, in my opinion. Taking great care not to hit anything else on top. So just a little bit of the handle here, and on the other side, and that's it. Oh, we forgot one part here, which was the spade, and we can go back here, already covering the handle here. And with this one, going back, cleaning our brush, and of course apply German grey to the spade here as well, the metal part. Something like this. Don't forget this one, like I almost did. Something like this really makes the detail of the miniature pop a little bit more. For the exhaust vents here and here, I'm going to use a color called Dryad Bark from Citadel. You can use a little bit of a rust color if you want, and I'm going to apply rust later. Actually, I won't. My mistake. I will apply the same thing here of German grey, because I believe it's metal, and then I can apply metal and then something else afterwards. So I'll apply it over here to this, what I think is an exhaust vent. And I'll also do the same to the exhaust pipes here. And here. The radio antenna, I'm leaving it as it is. With this one done and the paint almost dried, we're going to go on and apply a new color to the, let's see here, yeah, there we go. Vallejo's black to the road wheels. The road wheels here are, see if I show you, these ones here and here on either side. So it's going to be 2, 4, 8 road wheels on either side, 4 road wheels on either side. So we're going to apply this one neat, it also adds a nice level of detail. It can be very fiddly, but with one stroke, and we'll see if I can show you here, you can get the hang of it fairly quickly. It's also details like these that make the model stand out. Don't forget the other road wheel over here. I'm going to angling in the miniature here, make sure that I get it right. And don't forget the other side here as well. Easy to miss, just painting the sides, but also the top here as well. These were made, if I'm not mistaken, out of rubber. Don't forget this small side here as well. Moving on to the other side, you'll do exactly the same thing as I did. And I'm going to show you just in case. And it also leaves the rest of the model to dry while I'm doing this. And one good layer for this one is usually more than enough to get what you need. We'll see here if I can angle the miniature here, making sure that you can see it as well. Angling the miniatures just to see that I can get all the road wheels from the upper side here as well. And turning around the miniature is a good trick to get where you want. I often get asked this question in my workshops that I hold in my local board game pub called Drix. Please check out if you haven't been there. It's a really cool place in Haifa and a lifeline for people like me who really are into the hobby of wargaming and especially board gaming. So as such, we are done with the road wheels almost entirely. So with this one done, leaving this one to a side, coming into a fun part of the miniature, which is going to be painting the gunmetal part of the miniature, which is going to be, of course, with either Vallejo's oily steel or natural steel, or we can also use Leadbelcher for this one from Citadel, giving it a good shake and apply it completely neat with a brush of your choice. And this one comes down to all the metal parts, such as the machine guns. Don't forget the hull machine guns and the side machine guns here. The handles that we play, the metal parts of the axes and the sword that we painted before. And don't forget the spade that we previously just covered. The exhaust pipes, and a little bit of a streak here on these ones. Don't forget the pintle, no, not the machine gun here as well, also not pintle mounted, but the turret mounted. As you can see here, this is the color that this is the color inside here, what it looks like inside when you don't have it painted. That's the grey plastic there. And you can also see it from my video of how to apply plastic putty as well. And you're thinking that we're almost done here, right? And we almost are, but we forgot here the machine gun here, which I should have painted in German grey, but you can actually apply it straight with the Leadbelcher as well, if you like. And you can leave it also green if you like, if you have it camouflage painted or something like this. So I'm going to leave it a little bit green for the pintle mounted machine gun, or heavy machine gun actually, which are going to glue right so it sits like this. There are ways to do this. Where was it? Yeah, like this, as such. This is how you're going to put it. I recommend super glue for this one, and holding on to the miniature like this so it glues entirely. I recommend it like that. If you want to paint details with this Leadbelcher as well, you can do it on these small little like bolts if you want to as well. If you want to highlight that, that's perfectly fine. But before we go into the next step, we're going to apply some pure white, which is going to be cold white or white from Vallejo, and we're going to apply it on our one thing that we are almost missing here, and I always tend to miss this one, and it's going to be on our lights. And the lights here are fairly important details. Something like this, small dots. As well as the dots in here. You start from the center and work yourself out. Start from the center and work yourself up. Put yourself a dot in the center and then work yourself from the center and out. It's perfectly fine to keep it like this, but I want to make sure that this one looks a little bit better. So while this one dries, and on the subject of drying, we're going to clean our dry brush and apply a dry brush on the track links, making sure that it's entirely dried, the brush we're using, because otherwise it's not going to work. And we're going to take our trusty Leadbelcher, soak it with our paint, and wipe pretty much everything off on a piece of plastic, on a piece of a paper towel, and then dry brush the track links as such. Giving the appearance of a little bit of metal. Don't forget the sides. If you haven't done so already, you can also use this one here to get a little bit of a shiny feeling here on the exhaust fumes. And that's that. You can also do that over here if you like, on the bits of bolts, which I like to do, highlighting them a little bit, making them appear like new. And going back over here, if you see anything here that you want to highlight with this one, I can highlight these ones here, a little bit of metal, making them appear like a little bit more steely, so to say, but entirely optional. And also, if you want to make sure that this one here is more metallic, not metallic, you can also do that and dry brush the rest of the pintle mounted heavy machine gun. There you go. So when it comes to this one, you have two optional steps. You can dry brush the entire miniature with something called Iraqi sand, which is a Vallejo color. I'm not going to do this now. And then you can also, if you want to, apply a very thinned out Agrex earth shade over the entire miniature, including the metal parts. And I recommend about 2 parts water and 1 part Agrex earth shade if you want it more brown looking and grimy looking. But I'm not going to do that. I'm going to leave this option for you to decide. But what I will do is that I'm going to apply some Athematic contrast blue, actually contrast Athematic blue from Citadel on our road lights. And I have a video previously about this before, how to apply glass effects. And you can use this one as well. You can also use a slightly bluish color as well if you want to. This one requires a few steps, but now I'm going to show you one of them. And they become bluish like this, and that's why we painted it white. Something like this, make sure that try to put it at dead center and then work yourself out, making sure that it doesn't pool. And one thing that I can recommend, when you apply a wash, always try to make sure to do it with a flat brush. This is a very, very large flat brush, but you can use a much smaller one when you apply a wash, because you can use it to great effect and moving the paint around as you see fit. Now, this one done, I'm going to apply the turret so you can see what it looks like. It might be a little bit tricky to put the turret in, but there are 2 things here, one here and one here, that will correspond to these hatches here opening. So try to put them in, and then you will work them in. Let's see here if I manage to do that. Like I said, I'm really terrible at these things. I probably won't manage to do this. Or maybe I will. Let's see here. I managed. If I cannot. Sometimes it can be a bit tricky to move the turret because we have got paint around. So be careful when you move the tank. Now, with this one done, we've got only one step to do, and that is to apply the super glue to the pintle mounted machine gun. And of course you can also apply the decals now. There's a video, I'm going to share it on the screen, how to apply decals. Don't watch this video and laugh because I'm really terrible at it. Use one of these super glue Loctite pens if you have them, and simply apply the glue as you see fit, taking great care not to glue your fingers, because I did that before and it was not nice. So let's see here, where do you put this one in? Can be a bit tricky, but with a little bit of practice, and I'm not saying I'm great at this. So what you do here, a good tip, is to hold the miniature as such. Until you feel it's fairly glued onto it. Doesn't require long, and there you go. There you have it. The M3 Stuart in Russian service. Hopefully it will last longer than the ones it did in reality. It's a fairly sturdy tank. If you like this video, click the subscribe button in the bottom of the video. You will see it in the early on in the video. I should have said that. But click the subscribe button otherwise. I really appreciate that. Thank you to all of you who have subscribed to my channel so far. It really helps the channel grow and get visibility. And good luck on your painting, and I'll see you in the next video. And give it a thumbs up if you like. Leave a comment if you like this video. Thank you for watching.